a tall, lanky man entered the bar and immediately began looking at the customers. He was truly handsome and wore a plaid shirt, jeans, and cowboy boots, without a hat to hide his wavy salt and pepper hair, standard attire for this western country bar. Even though he saw the woman he was looking for, he waited to the side of the bar where he could watch her without being conspicuous. He waited for her to finish a couple of drinks before making his move. She was with another woman at a bar, and both would occasionally get up to dance with one or more men who approached them. In each case, they turned down the opportunity to join their dance partners at their table. They seemed to be here to have a good time, not to pick up some guys. When she ordered her third drink, she didn't realize that the stranger had told the bartender to pour her a double drink and pay the difference. As she was about to pay for her third drink, he intervened. "I'll pay for the lady's drink if she doesn't mind." The woman looked at him for a while and finally said, "Just because I say yes to the drink doesn't mean I'll say yes to you." He smiled and told her that he was fine with it. She raised her left hand to make her wedding ring more visible. "I understand that you are married. Although you are quite an attractive lady, I have another reason to talk to you." She turned on the bar stool to face him. "Oh, and what could it be?" Extending his right hand, he said, "My name is Brandon Knight, and I write short stories." The woman looked skeptical, but shook his hand. "I admit that this is an unusual phrase. This might be funny to hear." Her friend intervened. "I'm going to go dancing. Are you normal?" "Everything is fine. I'll be right here." After she watched her friend enter the dance floor, she continued. "So, what were you saying?" "The short stories I write are about betrayal." "Treason? That's why you're talking to me? Do you think I look like a fallen woman?" She was starting to get angry. "Whoa, wait a minute. I don't blame you for anything. I go around asking people to talk to me if they have been cheated on or have cheated on themselves. If so, I pay them to answer some questions. I am not asking for any information that would identify any of the characters in this story. If a person does not want to answer any of the questions, I leave, unless, of course, most of the questions are not answered. A person can leave at any time. If you haven't cheated or been scammed by someone else, I'll quickly go on my way with an apology and you'll get a free drink." Skepticism gave way to bewilderment on the woman's face. "So, Mr. Knight, if someone tells you a story about cheating, what happens to that story? If you don't mind, please call me Brandon. I won't ask your name. If the story is good enough, it gets published and I get paid. If this is not published, I will lose the money I paid this person and all the costs associated with obtaining the story." "And how much money do you pay people for their stories?" "As soon as a person tells me that he cheated or was scammed and wants to talk about it, I give him $200, which is non-refundable. If all questions are answered, I give the person another $300. So the total amount could be $500. As an added bonus, you can read your story in print, knowing that only you know who these people really are." At that moment, the wheels in her head really started turning. "Let me look at the $200. Not until you tell me that you are the one who cheated or was deceived and are ready to answer my questions." She took a deep breath. "Okay, I cheated, and I might want to talk if we can keep ourselves from saying anything that could identify me, my husband, or my ex-lover." "Agreed. Can we go somewhere more private to talk since we want to keep this a secret? I need to go tell Agnes first. We are not allowed to sit at a table, in a booth, or go outside with a man unless another goes with her." The lady went and talked to her friend to explain that she was going to sit at the table, but she was not going to go out with this man. They found themselves in a booth at the greatest distance from other visitors. Sitting opposite each other, they settled into their seats. Brandon pulled out a notepad and repeated the rules of confidentiality. He emphasized that she could stop at any time when she felt too uncomfortable. This seemed to calm her nervousness a little. "Okay, did you say you were the one who cheated?" She nodded her head affirmatively, but then stopped. "Wait, how do I know that I'm not being recorded?" "I'm recording your answers, so I guess you're being recorded. It's up to you not to give me anything that could identify you." He smiled. "By the way, you need to speak into the microphone while wearing my bolo tie. Your husband is outside listening." They both laughed, and then he placed $200 bills on the table in front of her. Are you ready? Okay, let's begin. Question 1. Are you currently cheating? No. I broke up with him a couple of weeks ago. Which of these time frames best describes when your affair began? A month ago or less, 3 months ago or less, 6 months ago or less, or more than 6 months ago? Are we talking only about the latest novel? Yes, it becomes too complicated if we are talking about several novels. Then it would have been 6 months ago or less. God, I can't believe I'm talking to a stranger about this. If this is too much for you, we can stop. He reached for the money, but she quickly put her hand on the bills. No, I'm fine. Continue. Fine. Was the person you had an affair with male or female? What? Do you think I'm a lesbian? Hey, I can't predict what a lesbian looks like. You would be surprised how many people I interviewed had homosexual and heterosexual relationships. Of course, you understand that homosexuality these days is almost a matter of pride. Personally, I don't care what kind of relationship it is. In fact, I don't care. The main thing is that the story is accepted for publication. Sorry, it just didn't seem right to me. I guess I'm still too old-fashioned. But in case you're wondering, I don't do that. Fine. Next question. Is the man you recently had an affair with the same racial ethnic background as you? A more worried expression appeared on the woman's face. I'm a little afraid to answer this question. In truth, interracial cases are more likely to be published. So, if this is true in your case, please tell me. Judging by your hesitation, he is of a different race. Do I have to indicate what race? It is desirable, but it is not necessary. Okay, I'll just say he's a different race. This is probably a good idea, since it could be a prank if you have a small group of acquaintances. Next, have you met this person at your workplace, in your neighborhood, in community religious organizations, or on social networks? If you don't want to answer about the workplace, I will assume that you work in an environment where there are very few people and where it would be possible to understand who this person is. I work in a large company. I met him there. Okay. How did you first meet him? Before she could respond, the waitress brought the woman her 4th drink of the evening. Double portion, of course. Once the waitress left, the lady continued. He was introduced to the employees on my floor by HR when he was first hired. After that, he stopped at my table to talk. And he flirted? Yes, we flirted, but that's not unusual in our workplace. We often make fun of each other except when the boss is around. So, when was the first time you were sure that there could be something more between you than just flirting? It's a little confusing. We rode in the elevator to our floors. It became very crowded there, and I was forced to stand behind him right in front of him. It was so tight that my butt was touching his front. As the elevator was ascending, I felt something cylindrical between my buttocks pressed through my clothes. I tried to move forward, but he put his hands on my hips and pulled me back. The elevator stopped at my floor. He stayed in the elevator while I headed to the restroom to, relieve myself. Oh, God. I've never told anyone about this before. Are you okay to continue? I think I need a break. I got really excited retelling this story. We'll continue when you're ready. After a couple of minutes, she told him to continue. When and where did you have your first real sex? If you're asking about actual sexual intercourse, it was in an empty office behind the post office. I was the only one who had the key to it. We used a desk. For which of these reasons did the affair end? Guilt? He lost interest? You lost interest? You got caught? You couldn't find a safe place? Another? Other. I ended it because I discovered that if you have an affair with the same person for a very long time, you tend to become careless, and the likelihood of getting caught increases. When you have sex for so long, the arousal factor also weakens. Sex with your loved one can become as boring as sex with your husband. I couldn't believe it, but one day I actually yawned during sex with my last lover. She blushed and giggled at the memory. Brandon offered, I realize these questions get very personal. I appreciate your candor. However, let me know if they become too uncomfortable. I assure you once again that your answers are completely confidential. Do you want to continue? Will I get the remaining $300? No, not yet. Okay, then continue. I've already told you almost everything. Did you have a preferred position during sex? All the poses were good, well, maybe the cowgirl was a higher priority. What types of sex do you prefer? I love all kinds. She grinned and finished her fourth drink of the evening. Do you think you will have another novel? If you mean, will I stalk someone on purpose? Then the answer is no. Will I take advantage of a good opportunity if it comes my way? Then the answer is yes. This is not in the application form, but how do you define a good opportunity? Well, if the guy is hot, and the time and place of our meetings make it unlikely that we will get caught. Does it matter whether he is married or not? No. If it doesn't matter to him, then why should it matter to me? It would be hypocritical to make a big deal out of it when I'm cheating on my husband. This brings us to the next questions. What do you think was the main reason or reasons that made it acceptable for you to cheat on your husband? 1. He was inadequate in bed. 2. Did you want sex more often than he wanted? 3. Excitement from a secret romance. 4. Did you drink too much alcohol and get carried away? 5. Have you fallen in love with someone else? 6. Other. I don't consider my husband inadequate. I wish he was bigger, spent more time on foreplay, washed himself more often before sex, and spent more time giving me affection down there. Usually the first time he quickly comes to the climax, but is able to perform again and extend the performance longer. In fact, now that I think about it, I'm probably having sex with another man because my husband is just one man. Having multiple sex options is the main reason I do this, and the excitement that I'm hiding it. It takes a lot of work and planning. You know, Brandon and the woman were interrupted by her friend Agnes, who said, "I'm going to sit at the table with Fred. I think it's okay since you did it. Don't worry, we're not going out." Hearing no objections, he and Fred moved to another booth, out of earshot. "Are we almost finished? My friend has a habit of getting into trouble, and I promised to look after her tonight." "Yes, almost ready. How do you think your husband would react if he found out? Would he beat you, kick you out, leave, threaten divorce, seek divorce, take revenge, or forgive you and beg you to stay with him? If he wanted you to stay, would he agree for you to leave your lover, or would you have to give up on him?" Whew. It's hard to think about. Of course, I wondered. Getting caught is part of the thrill, which is probably the main reason I keep having affairs. My conclusion is this. First, I need to do everything in my power to prevent him from finding out anything. If he did, he would probably threaten divorce, but I think he would back down as soon as I begged I would like him not to do this and promised to never do it again. I really love him, and he was a good husband, father, and even an adequate lover. Sex on the side is just something I want, and it won't really hurt our marriage. He knows he wouldn't handle the financial division that divorces usually lead to. As long as he doesn't have photographs, videos, or audio tapes, he would have no reason to get more than 50-50. I really don't want to talk about it. It's too depressing. It was very interesting. I think this will make a story that I can easily sell. All that's left is... The woman caught a glimpse of a man heading towards their booth. It was her husband. "Darling, good to see you. This is, Mr. Knight. He's a writer. He's interviewing me for a story he writes about happy marriages. He says there are too many stories of cheating spouses, and he wants to even the score." "Hello, Brandon." "Hello, Lester." An expression of horror and shock appeared on the woman's face. You two know each other?" The husband spoke completely calmly. "Of course. I hired him. Brandon is a private detective." She felt like she was walking on water in concrete boots. "Honey, I just made up this crazy story to get some money. He was stupid enough to think I was telling the truth. You see, I have $200 and he owes me another $300. However, it was clear from her face that she realized that she was caught. "Nice try. You've always been able to think quickly on your feet. It's a shame you couldn't resist. Sorry, I forgot. You said you prefer the cowgirl position." "Lester, how did you know what I said?" Brandon said, I lied about the interview being confidential. I didn't lie about the microphone in my bolo tie. The woman began to cry. Lester announced, "Well, Brandon, I guess I owe you $100. Still sobbing, she asked, "You only paid a private investigator $100 to spy on me?" "No, my dear. I paid much more. You hid your affair very well." When he couldn't find any evidence through regular surveillance, Brandon suggested this scam to lure you into a trap. I bet him $100 that you would be too smart to buy it. Looks like I was wrong. By the way, the correct answer to the question of what your husband would do if he found out is divorce. No, you wouldn't divorce me over a harmless affair, would you? Do you want to bet? Subscribe to our channel so that your second chaff doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think about listening to the next one.